Szanowni I dostojni uczestnicy
Dear and distinguished participants of the solemn commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the liberation of concentration camp Auschwitz, I address my words of respect to all those who were spurred by the fate from the industrial operations of the German Nazi machine of genocide in Auschwitz and other concentration and extermination camps. A drastic but true way of putting it. And I'm referring to the innumerable amounts of human hair, glasses, prostheses, shoes, clothing, and other items used daily by children, women and men of different nationalities and religions. So the ashes of those people were scattered by the winds of history, but their immortal souls remained in this zone invisible to humans, and they came here in great numbers, and they are circulating here among us. If we open our hearts, we will hear their cries, their moans and complaints to God. In a place such as this, words fail, and the heart cries out to God in this dreadful silence. Lord, why did you remain silent? In this silence we bow our heads before the countless people who suffered and were murdered here. Yet this silence is a loud cry for forgiveness and reconciliation, a prayer to the living God to prevent it from ever happening again. How many questions come to mind here? One in particular keeps coming up. Where was God in those days? Why was he silent? How could he allow so much destruction, this triumph of evil? These were the words of Pope Benedict XVI during his visit to Auschwitz-Birkenau in 2006, a pope from Germany. He went on to say, "We cannot fathom the mystery of God. We see only fragments, and we are lost when we want to become judges of God in history." These words of the Pope became a point of reference for me. One must not rummage through the conscience of people who had experienced a time when people deliberately forgot about another person's right to live. From here onwards, I will be referring to my own path, this path. And on this path, I saw the Gestapo headquarters in Warsaw, and Pawiak, a prison in Warsaw, the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration and extermination camp, the Mauthausen, Gusen I and Gusen II concentration camps. I was brought to this place in October 1943. I was tagged with a number that was tattooed on the inside of my left forearm, and I received other numbers, the Mauthausen and Gusen I, Gusen II. The number from Auschwitz, I've had it for 77 years, and it is still legible. It is legible, and it is a living witness to unforgettable tragic events. I remember in Auschwitz-Birkenau, I remember naked women being driven in trucks from the barracks to a gas chamber. I can hear them screaming. I can hear it in my subconscious when I remember those events. I recall people nicely dressed, wearing the Star of David armbands, walking around with no signs of fear. A large group of these people were led by just one SS officer, and he led them in the direction of the crematorium. However, only me and a few fellow inmates sitting next to me knew about it. I mean Guzin 1 and Guzin 2. In Guzin 1 and Guzin 2, I witnessed death penalties for observing the rules of one religion. I saw prisoners, sick prisoners, killed in the camp hospital by a functionary prisoner. I saw the suicide of prisoners who threw themselves on this electrified barbed wire fence. On the first day of freedom, I witnessed drastic extrajudicial executions performed by prisoners, functionary prisoners, and it was done because of the sadistic nature. It originated and manifested itself in camp conditions, and these are just a few select examples. To live a normal, creative life, I try not to think about the events that took place in the camp, and I found my own way of doing that. So I took my memories and I put them in this airtight box. I tied a rope to it and I threw it into a river. Occasionally I take it out, and I took it for today's event, but once I've used those, I put them back into this box and put them back into the water. However, once the echoes of the ceremony cease, some memories overcome my defenses. They penetrate my memory, trigger reflections, and some questions that remain unanswered. When I say Pater Noster, pray, I recite a verse. Give us our daily bread today, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. So the question is, what is forgiveness of sins? Is it forgetting the damage that was inflicted? Or maybe it's about refraining from imposing punishment. Maybe it is about abandoning the right for compensation. Can we forgive those who had this description, Gott mit uns, on the buckles of military belts and killed people with premeditation? Let me emphasize that. It was premeditated. Because war is an art of killing. Whoever kills more wins. War breeds violence on both sides, and the stronger will impose a law, and it can be quite cruel. And war blurs the lines between good and evil. To avoid that, there must be reconciliation between nations. Yet reconciliation without historical truth and forgiveness will only be but a bridge without a railing between the edges of a precipice. You can cross it, but not without fear. Therefore, it is a moral obligation of all those present here to act in such a way that nothing like that ever happens again. Under these inhumane conditions that prevailed in Auschwitz and other concentration camps, prisoners, inmates formed various underground organizations. Their primary goal was that of protecting human life and human dignity. Speaking in modern terms, I was a beneficiary of such an activity, and that made it possible for me to survive temporary breakdowns, to overcome this feeling of hopelessness, both in Auschwitz and other camps. Such actions unleash new energy, strengthen certain bonds, and stimulate a person to act, to overcome one's sense of powerlessness, to overcome this loss of hope. I'll give you two examples. A Franciscan, Father Maximilian Kolbe, voluntarily gave up his life for another person, father of a large family. Cavalry Captain Witold Pilecki voluntarily allowed himself to be imprisoned in Auschwitz. He organized, rather, let me phrase that, he fled from Auschwitz to tell the truth about what was happening in Auschwitz-Birkenau. He participated in a uprising in Warsaw, and he was killed by the communist authorities in Poland. So two different people, both incredibly courageous, and they showed heroism and dedication in a place created to exterminate people, and their sacrifice was not in vain. The Witold Pilecki Institute of Solidarity and Martyrdom was established in Poland in 2017. One of the goals of this institute is to commemorate people of different nationalities, victims of German Nazi crimes. And the Maximilian Kolbe Werk Association, established in Germany, has been operating since 1973. It is meant to reach agreement and reconciliation and provide assistance in various forms to former inmates of concentration camps and ghettos, regardless of their religion, their views, and their beliefs. On the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II, the association awarded all former inmates of concentration camps a commemorative medal. The document attached to the medal reads, quote, "You have survived the atrocities and terror prevailing in the camps, but afterwards your lives have been very difficult, and yet in this time you have given great reasons for reconciliation." So on the medal you can find a rose that symbolizes your message, that of reconciliation. We believe that your exemplary behavior will also affect others and will be something to follow, especially to those nations that remain adamant and intransigent. You suffered in camps and ghettos and Nazi prisons. Your life had been difficult after the liberation, but all of that was not in vain. Of this we are truly and deeply convinced. That's how it should be, but it is not. These days, in many regions of the world, people overcome by fanaticism of various kinds, political, racial, religious, they commit acts of violence to achieve their own personal goals. These acts of violence claims thousands of lives, and that bears the hallmarks of genocide. Has history turned a full circle? I mean a circle propelled and driven by people who do not respect other people's dignity? Dear participants of this commemoration, I am an optimist and I believe in people.
W dotychczasowym moim życiu,
So far,
pominięciem
in
pobytu
my
w
life,
więzieniach i obozach koncentracyjnych,
excluding my stay in prisons and concentration camps,
dobrego
I
i złego
have
w kwalifikowaniu
received more
ludzkich
good things
poczytków
than bad things from
narodowej
others.
pomaga mnie
In
piękna
qualifying human deeds as good or bad, I'm supported by a beautiful woman
ręce trzyma
who
wagę,
has a blindfold on her eyes. In her left hand she carries a balance, and in her right hand a sharp sword.
aby nadal
I will ask this lady to stay with me.
stycznia, to znaczy
On the
wczoraj,
26th
prezydent Rzeczypospolitej
January, yesterday, the President of the Republic of Poland, together with his spouse, presented to former inmates of concentration and extermination camp in Auschwitz-Birkenau medals commemorating the 75th anniversary of the liberation. The medal was founded by the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum. Now, there is this message attached to it, and there is this fact that it is the highest Polish authorities presented this medal, and that means that basically it is an unwritten document that documents this tragic history of the Polish nation and other nations during World War II. I deeply believe that this event will be used to act for the benefit of all the remaining witnesses of history.